Here's your daily BM.
Who these guys?
It doesn't matter.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway.
I want to play a game.
All right.
And here we go.
And good morning, my fellow listeners. It's time for another edition of the Daily BM with my co-host, Mike, and my other co-host, Invisible Eric. How are you doing, Eric?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Eric can't be with us today. I mean, it's a shame. We had such great content lined up, and we always seem to have the best content when he's not here.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So
I wonder if that's a coincidence. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike. BTW.
Yeah, exactly. So I went to a restaurant last night, right? I'm gonna go on a little soapbox here for a second to start the show.
Brad's soapbox
moment. So I went into this restaurant in our town called Grillsmith, and I always seem to sit next to the guy. I get next to the guy that wants to consistently talk to you, even when your food shows up. So like when you're trying to eat, it's the most annoying thing in the world to me. And then because you showed up late, and there was a reason why my wife and I moved down a chair and put you next to him because the guy, I mean, like I'm literally like cutting my chicken and I'm about to take a bite, and he's going, "Yeah, man, you should really try that with some spinach, man, and cook spinach." And I'm like, "Listen, dude, I don't eat it because of the texture." That pretty much shuts it down right there. I don't eat it because of the texture. It's gross. He continues to tell me about like why it's so good and why he didn't like it as a child, and I'm going, oh, fuck, man, I just want to fucking eat my shit, dude. Come on. You know what I mean? I just find that shit to be so annoying when people just don't catch the signs. I'm a talker, obviously. We do a show. But right. I'm like, I know when it's time to shut the fuck up. When somebody's food shows up or they're not engaging me right out the gate, then I kind of know, okay, I got to cut this off because they're not interested in the conversation.
Right.
So that's number one. And then, of course, I put you next to him. So that was kind of a dick move on my part, but it worked out.
He didn't talk to me. Obviously, I don't look approachable anymore with my metal braces. And
well, it did help that your ass you turned to the side and kind of shielded everybody away.
That's the best technique. You don't know that when you sit at a bar. If you just cockeye 45 degrees, it gives the aura that you don't want to be interacted with.
Well, my wife whispers in my ear last night. She goes, "Look at the guy across the other side of the bar. He let you off the hook." Because there was another guy that sat down.
No, I heard it. I heard her say that.
Those two started conversing, but they were like two single older dudes, probably in their 60s, you'd think, late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah, probably.
So they literally left us alone at that point. I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah,
but
it's because I showed up and they were like, oh, God.
They were like, Jesus Christ, this guy.
He's one of those people.
So this morning, I go through the drive-thru.
Yeah.
I went to McDonald's, of all things,
Yes.
And yes, I know. So I go through McDonald's and I'm sitting in the drive-thru and I'm behind this lady in this big ass Cadillac Escalade. And okay, so I don't know about you.
Was it black?
No, it was white.
Okay.
So I gotta be a black name, man.
Because I had a similar situation with a lady. I don't know what your situation is yet, but let's just say I had a blonde in a black Escalade, like drive like she owned the road in front of me.
Okay, mine wasn't a drive in the road. This is a drive through, but she literally. Okay, so how many times have you been to a fast food restaurant like McDonald's in your lifetime? I mean, because what? I'm 50. You're what? 40 something. So
probably like 1,000 times.
1,000 times, right? So the menu hasn't really fucking changed.
I mean, do you see me?
But no, I'm just saying the menu hasn't.
Actually, now you can see me.
So you've been to McDonald's, Popeyes, Burger King, Taco Bell.
Let's just say there's not a McDonald's I have never drove past.
Here, you're the only one that's millions and millions served, but you've got each one of them in your lifetime. So like seriously, the lady. I mean, you go to the drive-thru, you've seen the menu 1,000 fucking times in your lifetime. It hasn't fucking changed. Why does it take 8 minutes for you to freaking order? Like, stare at the thing and going like this. Oh God, what do I want? Okay, you got an egg McMuffin, or I mean, I just don't get it. Man. It's like
I think that I may be stereotyping here, but it's okay. I think that's a female thing because literally, like every time I pull up to McDonald's with my wife,
all hate mail go to info at the Daily.
We're sitting in the drive-thru waiting for 15 minutes to get to our turn to place our order. We get there and I'm like, what do you want? And she's like, I don't know. I need to look at the menu. And I'm like, they have like 8 items. Like, and it's breakfast time. Like,
Guys are
I mean,
fucking
do you
crazy.
want bacon, eggs, or do you want sausage, egg, or do you want it in a burrito? Like, how do you want your eggs and bacon and sausage? Or chicken? Do you want chicken? Like, and she's just literally just sitting there thinking, and it driving me nuts because I'm like, I've already ordered. I'm like ready to go. Like, I want to move on. I know it's annoying the people behind me because it's like you should have your order ready when you pull up. That's like my biggest pet peeve.
See, and that's one. I will say one thing about my wife, dude. It makes it beautiful on her part. She literally knows exactly what she wants when we get into the drive-thru. I mean, she eats like
only
a
eats
5-year-old.
one thing.
Yeah, she eats like a
It's easy.
5-year-old. But
It's
I'm saying
easy.
it's super simple. It's like either chicken nuggets or it's this. But I'm just saying,
Yep.
there's something to be said about simplicity at times. You know, I'm sitting there in that drive-thru going, "Oh my god, bitch, get through the damn line, hurry up!" I'm like, you know, a Big Mac's still a Big Mac, you know, or a
100%.
cheeseburger still a cheeseburger. Like you said, it's either sausage, egg, you know, bacon and cheese. You got those to select from. Just depends on what package you want to put it in. But so I wanted to follow up with yesterday's story. You had a ghost story since we were talking
last
ghosts, or last night since we were talking about ghosts and stuff.
Yeah, that was last night's story during
you
dinner.
know, I want to, I kind of want to touch on that again. I mean, another Ghostbusters episode, but whatever. So
I have a
touch
feeling
on-
I've shared this before, but it may not have been on the show.
Probably. Let's talk.
So when I was younger, I was a child. It was probably, I think it started happening. We moved to Florida when I was about 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was stationed in Germany, and so we moved from Germany to Florida when my dad retired, and we bought a house down the road, like down the road from where I live now in Lakeland, and from about 5 to 8, I had a woman, like an older woman, like in a nightgown, like standing in the corner in the middle of the night sometimes in my room. And I was so petrified that I refused to sleep in my bed.
So where'd you sleep?
I usually like went into my parents' room and like crawled in between them, you know, like after they went to bed, like, you know, and they get yelled at me in the morning and I'll just be like, okay, whatever. And, you know, it went on for a while, and it wasn't all the time, but it was like maybe like a weekly, maybe monthly occurrence. You know, sometimes it went for a couple weeks without it, so it wasn't like all the time. But I just remember always being petrified and waking up with sleep paralysis. You know, where you can't move. And I remember one night in particular, like I woke up and she was like on the bed and she like had her hands on me, like I felt a weight, and I don't know if it was like the sleep paralysis that it kicked in and I wasn't able to move. And I couldn't scream. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you can't scream, but you're like, something's trying to come out, but nothing comes out.
Yeah, that's usually when I have a gag ball in my mouth, and you know.
Yeah. Anyways,
wait, what?
So
go ahead.
So yeah, so she's like over me and she's like shaking, like she's shaking me. Now I'm not shaking, but I can't breathe and I can't move. And she's screaming at me like, "Why are you in my house?" And then, you know,
now was the house old? I mean, did it have a prior history?
The house was built in like the 70s, so it wasn't that old. But here's the weird part. Like when I was about 8, my dad asked me to go up into the attic, over by like my bedroom to like, I don't remember what it was specifically. I don't know if I was up there putting things up in the attic, you know, like Christmas stuff and things like that, or if I was going over to check one of the vents or something like that. Cause I was littler, you know, my dad was a big guy. Like he was 6'4", like 330 pounds. So he didn't like going up in the crawl spaces and stuff like that. So anything that was tight, he'd usually send me up into it. So that way,
no, you'd be a sacrifice for the gods.
Yeah, exactly. So he had me going up there with a flashlight, and I found a little shoebox, and in the shoebox I had a bunch of old pictures, and it was a freaking lady. So like I didn't tell my parents. I just literally like got it and brought it down and threw it in the garbage can because it was like garbage day the next day. And after I did that, like it just disappeared.
Now, is that here local? Or is
that's my house. It's in Lakeland. Yeah, it's like a mile and a half down the road.
Oh, and so it's the one that your mom's currently in.
Yeah, that my mom's currently in.
Dude, we should go in.
I found out later that and I never verified this. It's like one of the neighbors told us there that had lived in the long neighborhood, like had been there forever.
Right.
When I was about 12, she had told me that the previous owner was an old lady that had passed away in her bed.
Bro, we should definitely pull out the equipment and go in there and do it when your mom ain't around.
Yeah. So that was probably the freakiest ghost encounter that I ever had. Now, I don't know how much I honestly have to say, like, I don't know how much of that was like my 8-year-old like mind.
Right.
You know what I mean? Constructing it. But the trippy thing was finding the box that had like an old lady in it. And the thing is with like old ladies, like, you know, to an 8-year-old, they all look very similar.
Right.
So I couldn't tell you if the one that I saw at night, the spectral form, was the old lady.
Right.
That was in the pictures, but it was just so weird. Like, it was probably one of the weirdest ghost encounters I've ever had in my entire life. Like, it still gives me goosebumps. Like, talking about it right now, I'm getting goosebumps just remembering it and going through the feelings of that time.
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
Now, you know, talking about ghost stories, I don't know if have we talked about that, like our adventures on ghost tours and stuff on the prior shows. I don't even remember.
I'm not 100% sure.
I don't think we have. So I'll tell you a couple.
I think we have, because I feel like I've talked about that before. But
this is going to be another ghost.
It's been like 100 episodes. So
yeah, it's been over 100
anyways.
episodes. So who knows what the fuck we talked about? But you know, my wife and I, you know that we like to travel around and go to different haunted establishments. So I've had a couple of experiences. I had one locally here in Florida in St. Augustine. Right. Where my wife was in bed and it literally pulled her hair and she thought it was me.
Oh, yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, that one, it was like a Spanish hotel, but it's got a real history of being haunted in St. Augustine. So that was number one. The second one was we went to I want to say it was in North Carolina or Tennessee, but it was or North Carolina, but it was a prison, and the way the prison was kept is that it had high mountain range all the way around it, so you literally couldn't escape by going, you know. There was only one way in and one way out because it was narrowed in. It was the coolest prison, but I picked up the most like voices speaking to us, people screaming, you know, in it. And it was 100% legit recordings, man. I mean, because you're not even supposed to bring those devices in, wink, wink. But I snuck
I remember you telling me that. You were not able to bring them in.
Yeah, so that was really a wild experience. But the one that I really was the Stanley Hotel out in Colorado. It's like one of the most haunted hotels, and we stayed there. It's where Stephen King got his inspiration for The Shining.
Yeah, for The Shining.
So we were like literally one floor up, only 3 doors down from that room. So we're sitting in the room, we're talking. It's like probably, I don't know, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. So we're sitting there, chit chatting, and all of a sudden, we're talking about like ghosts and stuff. And all of a sudden, the armoire that's closed, and all the hangers, like somebody took their hand and just raked them across the hangers. Wow. I got up. My wife wasn't moving. She was like, "I'm not getting off this fucking bed." You know what I mean? Because that's how loud it was. Yeah, and then
freaked everybody out, I guess.
It freaked us out. And I opened up the armoire, and every single hanger was perfectly straight.
Wow.
Yeah, some crazy shit. I'm a firm believer that it is there. I still have yet to see an apparition, or something like come to, move a chair or anything of that nature. But that was the closest I've been to seeing an object without, you know what I mean? I had to hear it, but I know those hangers all moved.
Yeah, 100%.
So I was like, okay, all right. So, ghosts and stuff, they're the real deal, man.
Yeah, 100%. That's how I feel about them. Mm-hmm. I strongly feel about it. So, going back to something that you said a couple seconds ago, The Shining. Did you ever watch the follow-up movie to that?
No.
I haven't either. I think we should have a movie-thon and watch those two movies.
What, The Shining and then the second one?
Yes.
It's been so long since I've seen The Shining, I couldn't even tell you how.
That's why I'm saying we need to watch both of them, because I don't remember it. I mean, I remember it being trippy and I remember it being kind of long, so I think we should do that. Have a movie marathon that we could talk about them.
Yeah, and then people
give our
reviews of The Shining like 40 years later.
Yeah.
But I just
and the follow-up movie.
Yeah, no kidding. But I was just like sitting there going, "Damn, dude, that's some crazy shit."
So last night,
right,
like 1 o'clock in the morning. Number one, the Basil and Hayden's that we had were so good. Props to Basil Hayden.
Well, before you continue, so we like at Grillsmith, so we talked about the food and the guy talking to the bar, but my wife is notorious for doing this. Like, she'll order a round of drinks even though I'm done with one, and then bring another one and then another one, and I was like, oh my god, no more Basil Hayden on the rocks. So we switched to the smoky old fashioned. Dude, that thing was money
100% money.
So go ahead. So anyway,
Um,
you said hats off to the Basil Hayden. You said last night.
So I was feeling pretty good when I got home. So I kind of went. I kind of just got into bed with my brand new kitten that I was telling you about on the previous episode.
Right.
And this little son of a bitch at like 12:30 decided that he was going to play parkour off my forehead for like 30 minutes off the headboard of my forehead. So he woke my ass up a couple times. So I finally got his ass back to sleep, like 40 minutes later, playing with him and shit like that. And then I guess he had eaten right before he started doing his parkour shit and playing. So all of a sudden I hear that ralphing noise next to me in the bed.
He puked on the bed.
Yeah. So he no. I literally, he did a little bit, but I caught it in my hands, underneath it. I'm like, oh God, just puke into my hands. Like this is what my being a parent has trained me for, like catching puke with my hands. So
I thought it was because you were catching something else with your other hand, so that's what gave you the skill set.
No,
your morning routines.
And so now, of course, I had to wash my hands and shit like that. And I gotta keep an eye on him, so I can't go back to sleep because I'm wide ass awake. So I started watching this Korean show. It's like Physical 100.
Okay.
On Netflix.
So you drank that much where you started watching a Korean show?
I like Korean shows. I watch them all the time.
Were they all speaking Korean?
Correct. Yeah, it was subtitled. I think you could do English
translation?
English translations.
But that's the worst. Like I tried that with we did that with the what's that one, the Korean one that was real big? The one where the people had to play a game. Oh my God.
Squid Games.
Squid Games. So the narration was so bad, which made it funnier. In my opinion, it made it funny because the English translation actors to the Korean people were funny to me. Sorry.
Yeah. So this is not like the Squid Games. This is reality TV.
It's reality.
It's reality. It's a reality competition show.
Okay.
And they basically take 100 of the fittest like Korean athletes.
Okay.
They're celebrities and all 9 yards. Now, unfortunately, because I'm not well versed in the world, like I don't know very many of them at all.
Right.
So they have like MMA stars, wrestling stars, YouTubers, like all sorts of stuff. I guess Korea has its own version of MMA, like its own like UFC,
right?
That has its own MMA fighters in it, and these people are all like jacked. And the premise.
What is a jacked? Oh, so they're not Korean people in the reality show?
No, they're Korean.
Oh, they're all
jacked? Korean. They're jacked, dude. Like jacked.
I've never seen like an Oriental dude like jacked.
I am talking jacked. I'm talking like some of these guys walk in and they're fucking beasts, like beasts. Damn. And they're ripped. I'm talking like 5%, 6% body fat. Like, yeah. And there's this girl that's there, like female bodybuilder, that she's jacked too, as a Korean, there is one white guy that he plays on the Korean baseball team. He was a transfer from the Arizona Diamondbacks, right. And he's now playing in the Korean Baseball League. So when he walks in, because he's like 6 foot, he's literally towering over everyone.
Hey, I just wanted to say, newsflash, Koreans are white too, bro. You're like, there is this one white guy. I'm like, wait,
no,
are Koreans like their own color?
No, they're not.
That's what I'm
They're not Caucasian.
Well, but they're still white.
They're Asian.
But they're still white.
I was talking about like Caucasian, like white guy as a Caucasian guy.
He was an American.
No, yes, I think he was an American. Yes, actually, I think so. He came from the Arizona Diamondbacks, and he's like 6 foot, so he towers over everybody. So that was kind of comical. No, I'm not a racist. I was just talking. And it was just really fascinating because, like, the first thing, like, what they do is they have these busts of their upper bodies,
right?
Yeah, they're like molded out, and then underneath their bust they had like their little uniforms that they had to wear for the competition. Okay. And they get there, and once they all collect, the first thing they do is they go to another room, and they split them into two groups, 50-50. And the first challenge is they had to hold on to these bars suspended in the air until the last person dropped.
Oh, I would have been out in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, and some of the big guys were. Some of the really big guys were out because their body weight was just a lot more than they could hold on to.
Man. Yeah.
You know? And then the next episode, that gave them an advantage. And then the next episode, what happened is the people that held the longest in order got to pick who they went against in the next challenge because it was a one-on-one death match style. And whoever lost is automatically eliminated from winning the $300 million won, which I don't know how much that translates to US, but there's 300 million won was the grand prize. They're automatically eliminated. So then they had to get a ball and hold on to a ball in this next challenge for at the end of 3 minutes, whoever's holding the ball wins the challenge. If nobody's holding it, it goes into 1 minute overtime. And it keeps going to 1 minute overtimes until somebody wins.
Right.
So basically, like, you know, some people have like a keep away strategy. Some people are just like freaking wrestling and just like beast mode. The interesting thing was that there was a couple women that like, you know, challenged men to this sport. And you can just tell the difference that just having just testosterone in your system versus, you know, not having testosterone in your system is because of the sheer difference. Like there was this one wrestler that's on there that's really super fit, really strong. Okay. Mm-hmm. And she goes up against this rugby player who's not as physically fit, but he's strong and he plays rugby. And he literally just picks her up, like completely just picks her off the ground. And she, in her interview, she's like, that's the first time that's ever happened to me. Like, you know, she was like the number one Korean wrestler.
Right.
There, like in the nation, you know, like and she's also like an Olympic medalist in women's wrestling. And this guy literally just like manhandled her. Like it was just unbelievable. Like, you know, and she was kind of blown away. Yeah. Like he just like tossed her away. Like she was like a rag doll. And it happened also to another guy that was he was a fit guy. He was a firefighter and he was fit, like really fit. And he went against this strong man that was you know, he was heavier but he was strong. And the strong man literally like pushed the guy away with one hand and like launched the dude. Like launched him, like threw him like 4 feet. And the guy was like, I can't believe how freaking strong this guy was. Like he literally just knocked him off his feet. So it was a really cool show to watch. So you should check it out.
I will. But back to the women testosterone thing with the men. So, you know, I guess I'm going to talk about a sensitive subject just for a second, transgenders. Okay. Yes. Because, you know, I'm one of those guys that thinks that like transgenders should have their own group. You know what I mean? That they compete. Like, I don't feel like a man that used to, like the swimmer, for instance, in the NCAA, where he was swimming as a male and then decided he wanted to be a female, but he still has testosterone in his body, and he ends up winning the NCAA like finals and stuff like that. But he was like in the men's bracket, he wasn't even ranked in the top 50,
correct,
or something like that. So to me,
I don't even think he ranked in the men's bracket. I think that's what
I was just taking a long shot on that one because I didn't know on that where he was ranked at, but. My point is that I don't have a problem. If you want to be transgender or whatever, that's fine. Cool. Whatever. But I also believe in sports. It does men have a slight advantage over women in sports just because
I don't think it's slight. I don't think it's slight.
It's a big measure. There's a reason why they have men's soccer, women's soccer.
I don't think it's a slight advantage.
You take any man and he'll out physical a woman when it comes to like play. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It just will. It's basic genetics, man. We have testosterone, we have muscles, we have bigger strength, and there's a reason for that. You know what I mean? And then women just don't by nature. So I just feel like in that sense, there should be like, okay, a bracket for transgenders as well, if we're going to do it that way. Women's sports, transgender sport. And then they can all compete in their own bracket, you know? Because, I mean, it's no different if you're going to say you're a gender, then, you know. I mean, your thought on that? I mean, because that's how I feel about it.
No, I 100% feel like that. I definitely feel like that because it would be. It doesn't matter if you no longer even have, like, if you've had the sex change operation because you've had the 20 plus or however old you are, you've had that many years of testosterone building your muscles, and it's not just going to diminish within a short period of time. Like you're going to maintain that muscle mass and that size for a long time. And I don't think it's a fair competition, and I don't think it's fair to like biological women to compete with that. Now, I mean, I do feel like we shouldn't limit people in the society, but I feel like we should make it fair.
Correct. No, I'm right there.
And
with
I
you,
don't
man.
know what that exactly is, but I don't think it's almost reminds me of like youth athletics in the fact that, you've got age brackets, like, like you can have on like the small football league, you can have like 5-year-olds playing against like 7-year-olds.
Right.
And you can, when you see a 7-year-old go up against a 5-year-old, there's no competition in that.
He's going to run him over.
Because the 7-year-old's bigger, he's got 2 years of more muscle coordination, eye-hand coordination, 2 years usually more of training. And it's not a fair competition at all. And you see it through all the age brackets. Like, if you take a 14-year-old versus a 17-year-old, it's a night and day difference. And I've seen teams that are mostly comprised of 14-year-olds go up against teams that are mostly 16, 17-year-olds. And these kids just get railroaded because they don't have a chance. They're just like, they're physically dominated. If you got a guy that's standing a foot taller than you, all the QB has to do is throw the ball 7, like if you're 5 foot, all they have to do is throw it 6.5 feet and the person in front of them can't catch it. Realistically.
Right. No. And then you just made a good point because like at 14, dude, you're just getting ready to hit puberty. And then at 17, you're already in it.
You're in the heat of it.
Yeah, you're in the heat of it. Through you, man. And you are way more physical.
You've already had like probably 2-3 growth spurts. I mean, that's
3 years in that age bracket is a huge advantage. I mean, over somebody else.
There was once like on this one team that we played against, the center, he was probably like 5'8" and probably weighed 220 pounds. And our center was half that size, dude. Like it was insane. So they were constantly just getting pushed over, and it's just, I don't think it's a fair advantage. I know. And the thing of the youth sports is you catch up. I mean, eventually that it's just the training and the learning and the exercise and the building. It's not something you're training for whole life, but I could imagine, for instance, if we have like the women's Olympics and, these people have been training their whole life for 4 years. And then you have, someone that's on the men's team that places 6th or 7th place, decides that, I've always felt like a woman, switches genders, and then enters in the competition. And his time in 5th place is already beat like 1st place. And he dominates it for the next decade. And all these women that have trained don't really have a fair chance to compete because it's almost like juicing. It's almost like steroids.
Yeah. No, it's almost like it gives you an advantage.
It's almost like taking human growth hormone, in my opinion. Like it's not a fair competition at that point. And I don't know like how you make it fair still make it where you're not, stepping on the individual,
It was like I said, I believe they should separate into categories. You know what I mean? And then that's the fix right there. Right. I mean, but
the problem is you don't have that many transgenders to compete against. Correct. So you're gonna have like just the one person that shows up.
You might have 5 people in it for the first 4 years. You know what I mean? I don't know the fix. I guess that's for the powers that be, the NCAA, but and
all the other sporting events and stuff like that. And it's also for women in general as a whole, if they feel that that's something that they're okay with, like if that's how they feel, like that's way beyond my pay grade. So.
Well, talking about your Korean show, I'm going to flip the script here for just a second before we get out of here. But what I'm thinking is we do a fat guy's version of that and we compete.
Eating?
If we could get, oh, dude,
I'd still lose. I'm
gonna win that war, dude.
No, I'll still lose.
I was gonna say, I'll eat you. Wait, what?
I follow this skinny guy on Instagram. Like he's super freaking skinny. He's like a CrossFitter dude, and the dude he can pack in like 20,000 calories in one sitting. Like.
Yeah, but he's probably burning like fucking 20,000 calories.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a professional eater. Like that's what he does, and he just does CrossFit for exercise. But he probably weighs like 180 pounds, super skinny and lean, and he'll sit down and pound down like that giant pizza we got in Chicago that was about like 4 feet wide.
Yes,
he pounded one of those by himself. He had like 50 wings and like a whole bunch of like ice cream and shit, and like consumed all of it.
Hey, on the 4th of July, do you ever watch that
Hot dog eating contest?
eating
No, I don't.
contest?
No.
Dude, I don't understand how those dudes stick that many wieners in their mouth,
Oh,
dude,
you had to
in a
go
matter
there.
of minutes. Like
You were doing
the
so
g-
good too.
The guy eats like 70 wieners, man. I'm like,
So good.
the
You're
guy
doing
eats like
so good.
the guy eats like 70 wieners, man, and it's like, and with the bread, that's what I don't
Yeah.
get. Like they're dunking it in the water. Dude, I would literally, I couldn't get past
I'll
probably
die.
5.
Have you seen some of their
I can only
stomachs when
put
they're
5
done?
wieners in my mouth. I mean, I'm sorry.
Have you literally seen some of their stomachs when they're done? How bulged they are, and how you can
Oh
actually
yeah,
see
dude.
parts of like the
They
hot
look
dog like
miserable.
still in
They
there.
look like they're gonna die. They're breathing so heavy. They're like,
Oh yeah,
they look
Eat
like
until you die.
I know, dude. I mean, and nobody. What's that guy's name? Joey, I think is his name. He's won it
Yeah.
like every year for like
Right.
10 years now or something, dude. I don't think anybody can beat this guy, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody even gets close. I think that Japanese guy got close or won it one time from him, and he hasn't lost sets.
yeah.
I mean, I guess you're gonna go down as the guy that ate the most wieners and put the most wieners in your mouth in 5
I think they
minutes.
call them hot dogs. I think you're the only person who calls them wieners.
It says wieners right on the package. Boom. Just saying.
I'm not gonna argue with you.
Yeah, it says, either that or
I just
Frankenfurter.
feel like
They used-
it's- I
in
just
Germany,
feel
they
like-
call them Frankenfurters, right?
Frankenfooters? That means footlongs.
But they call them Frankenfurters because they make foot-long hot dogs, right?
Yeah,
Or
I guess.
wieners, should I say?
I guess.
Wieners. Anyway, all right, guys, we're gonna cut you loose
Jesus
today.
Christ.
You can follow us on the TikTok and on the tweet machine at _ the Daily BM. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the Daily BM. Go to thedailybm.com. Check us out. Eric should be back tomorrow when he's done being a pussy. And other than that, Mikey, you got anything before we get out of here?
No, I think
All right, guys, we'll catch you tomorrow.
Good.
You guys, see you on the flip side.
have a good one.